All right, says we are live. All right, let's go and kick this off. And welcome to the Killer Frogs, the podcast all about TCU athletics from the fans' point of view. My name is Sean Fouché, and this is season 4, episode 16 for December 12th, 2017. On tonight's panel, we have Killer Frog Emeritus, Wes Phelan. Wes, how you doing?
Man, I'm tired. My wife's had me working all day. This is the only break I've had. So thank you, thank you. Make this thing last 3 or 4 hours.
Our special guest tonight may not want to go 3 or 4 hours with us, but we'll see. We also have TCU Hall of Famer WC Nix. Hey, Dubber.
Hey, how's it going, guys? It's a happy day. I'm glad to be a horned frog, but I'm kind of sad.
Yeah, it is a bit of a sad weekend. You gotta love live broadcast, guys. Yeah, it is a bit of a sad weekend for horned frogs. We're gonna jump into that in just a second. Unfortunately, Ryan is kind of drowning her sorrows tonight over the news, so she won't be with us. And Hunter is the only one who decided to be responsible. He's studying for finals instead of being on the podcast. I don't know where Deborah went wrong raising that kid, but he's out studying for finals right now. But we do have a special guest tonight, and he really, honestly, I mean, for Frog fans everywhere, he doesn't really need an introduction, but I'll give him one anyway. Fort Worth Star Telegram writer Mac Engel. Mac, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on. I'm really flattered that the good people of Killer Frogs, who love me so much, asked me to join for a podcast. I know I'm really popular amongst some members and some subscribers.
Absolutely. We're hoping to jump another 10,000 subscribers just for having you on tonight. So we're looking forward to that.
I could probably see it'll kill about 10,000 subscribers, unfortunately, for your website.
No. Well, probably not. No. Well, maybe not 10,000. But no, Mac, for those of you who don't really follow the board too much, but do follow us on the podcast, Mac kind of has a love-hate relationship with the members there on the forum. I should say not Mac, but the members of the forum have a love-hate relationship with Mac, and it's I think it's pretty much the way that most people view sports journalists these days. You either love them or you hate them, and Mac does his job, does it very well, and he's not afraid to ruffle a few feathers along the way. But we're glad to have him on the podcast this week because we have breaking news this weekend, just dropped yesterday, and that is Chris Del Conte is going to trade in his purple blazer for one made out of burnt orange, which nobody really understands, but he's gone. He's down in Austin and now a Longhorn, and the search is on for the AD. And Wes, fill us in a little bit about what has happened over the last 24 hours.
Well, coincidentally, I was down in Austin yesterday when I started getting these texts about Chris leaving to go to Austin, and I said, well, okay, I like to get confirmation. I'm not a journalist, but I like to get confirmation. So I text somebody who would definitely know. And he just gave me a one word answer. Yep. And I said, okay, well, that's good enough for me. Cause like I said, this person would definitely know. So, with that being said, Chris is departed. I guess he starts tomorrow. So he's probably already down there in the belly of the beast, getting ready to start his new job. He's, I hold no animus towards him. If you know Chris, if you've met him, I hope most of you have. He's a great guy. He makes you feel like he's the most important. You're the most important person in the room, and he'll do great for him. He did great for us. He did everything we asked him to do, and more. And he'll do the same for the Longhorns.
Yeah, definitely wish him all the luck, but don't wish the Longhorn teams all the luck against the Frogs. So
yeah. It's funny. I went down to Shaggy Bevo yesterday. Their version of Killer Frogs.
Are they still called Shaggy? I thought they had to change that.
Oh, Shaggy, Texas. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
And so they're saying, well, a lot of them said it's a home run hire. A lot of them said, oh, BS. How could anybody from TCU be a home run hire? And I just couldn't help. I got registered and got a quick account on that thing and filled him in. And I said, that we'll gladly take him back if you don't want him.
Yeah, right. Mac, what do you think? Think this is a home run hire for Texas?
Yeah, I think but it is for different ways. I mean, the money makes itself. It's one of the most lucrative athletic departments in the country. So it's not like his expectations and the demands of his job are going to be a lot different than they were here at TCU, or certainly when they were at Rice. I mean, this is one of the 5 biggest jobs in the United States. It's up there with Ohio State, Florida, Alabama, UCLA, USC. Notre Dame. It's one of those jobs, and that's the only reason he took it. And he and I spoke on the phone last night for, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes. And, most of it was off the record. And he was sort of walking me through it in the decision-making process. And I couldn't blame him. And I couldn't blame Texas for calling. I mean, they just dropped the ball so badly when they replaced DeLoss Dodds with Steve Patterson, because Steve Patterson was a pro guy. He was an NBA guy. And he didn't know what it was like. He wanted to treat college athletics like a professional sports team. And even though there's a lot of similarities, it's still college kids. It's still college athletics. And Chris Delconte understands that, and he understands people. And like Wes said, he's a terrific salesman. He made you feel like you're the most important person on the planet, and he'll do that in Austin. So he'll do very, very well. But the only way that really works is if Tom Herman wins football games. If the baseball team wins, that's fine. That's cute. If Shaka Smart does well with the basketball team, well, that's okay. That's great. But the bottom line is, it doesn't work if football doesn't win. If football loses, then they'll figure out a way to be mad at him. So fortunately for him, he inherits a situation where all of these coaches have already been hired, so he doesn't have to make those decisions right away. If Tom Herman doesn't work out, then that's going to be his job defining decision whether or not it works out. If it works out and Tom Herman wins, he's okay. If it doesn't, then that'll be his career.
Well, do you think, Mac, at the event that Tom Herman doesn't work out, and it's too early to tell, I mean, he's had one season, do you think Chris kind of guy to make a call up here to Fort Worth and for Gary Patterson?
Yeah, I think
that's what's on a lot of people's minds.
No, I know that's what everybody's scared about, and Gary and I talked about that today, and Gary has made it very clear you never say never, and even though he continually signs contract extensions and he's got a great situation here in Fort Worth, I've firmly believe Texas is the one job that would pique his interest. I don't think he cares about any of the rest, but I think Texas is the one job that would pique his interest. So if Tom Herman doesn't work out, I could see that phone call being made. I think the one wild card, or I shouldn't say wild card, I think the one thing you have to factor in is Gary's getting a little bit older now. And now he's not an old man. He's got plenty of energy. He's like, do you want to hire a guy if in 2 or 3 years, do you want to hire a 58-year-old guy to lead your football program? And you have to ask yourself that. I don't know. The one thing I think Chris Delconte could sell is the idea that he could work with Gary and Gary could work with him. Yeah. So I think it's one of those things you have to kind of put in the back of your mind that if you're the AD and Tom Herman doesn't work out, well, who the guys best in the United States working for you, and you had a good relationship with them. So I don't think it's inevitable, but I think he'd be stupid and ignorant not to at least acknowledge that scenario as.
Well, as you said, Gary has left the door open. And it was one of the comparisons that Frog fans were making over the weekend was the way that Patterson always kind of deals with these sort of rumors and a job offer, so to speak, versus what Delconte kind of told everybody over the last couple of weeks, or certainly over the last couple of months, stating on Twitter, "Hey, Horned Frog for life. I'll be here as long as you guys want to keep me." And then turns around, takes a job at Texas. So everyone's looking around going, well, who told him that we didn't want him anymore? And Patterson's always been that kind of guy. It's just like you said, you never say never. And that's out of respect, obviously, for the other universities that are coming and calling, and the respect for other coaches in the industry as well. So I like the way that Patterson does it, and I agree with you. I think it would be foolish if on there and Tom Herman doesn't work out, and Patterson's not the first person he calls. I would totally expect that to be the case. But I also hope, like you said, given the fact that he is kind of getting up there in years, hopefully before then we either have gone to the playoffs or won a national championship, and he wants to stick around and do it again.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too is you have to take a couple of things into consideration, and it's this idea that Chris Delconte, because of all of his relationships that he built and established at TCU, would take that into consideration in regards to anything. Well, no, he wouldn't, and nor should he, unless it's a personal decision, in terms of friends or going out to dinner or anything like that. His priority now, and if you have seen, I'm sure you have, he's already updated his Twitter page. He's the UT director of athletics. He's got burnt orange every place, and that's his commitment now, and that's where his loyalty goes, because they're paying him $1.3 million for the next 7 years of his life. So this idea, well, gee whiz, when a decision gets made, Chris will watch it. We'll take his relationship with TCU into consideration. No, he won't. He didn't care about Rice after he left. He liked Rice, and he was loyal, and he certainly was a good steward of that university. Who was there, but when he was gone, it was time to pay attention to TCU and make them the priority. And now that'll be the case at UT. So this idea that when the next round of college football, I guess, reduction goes around, because it's going to happen, the next TV contract, and Chris Del Conte's going to look out for TCU. No, he's not. He's going to look out for Texas, because that's his priority, and it should be. That's as simple as that.
Well, that's where his paycheck comes from, and he's not going to undercut that at all.
Nor should he. And
no, he has no reason. He has no reason to factor in TCU in any decision he makes for Texas.
No, and whoever replaces him is going to have a big. I mean, whoever replaces him will have a big set of responsibilities in terms of succeeding him as a personality. He was a national name. He had established himself through fundraising and the facilities, and the fact that he could secure all these good coaches. He had made TCU a destination job. Well, whoever replaces him has to continue that and then expand on it. And then even bigger than that is that when college football goes through the process of trying to figure out, okay, we're going to trim the fat again, TCU's got to make the cut. And that'll be a university defining, when I talk about defining things, if they can manage to maintain their position as a Power 5 school, then they're fine. But we've all followed it. We've been there. We've gone to school there. We've enjoyed it. But we all know the reality of college athletics. And because of TCU's enrollment and their numbers, it just makes them a little bit more vulnerable. And TCU's got to take care of that and not look to Chris Del Conte to do that for them.
Well, Matt, going back to that eventuality, or that possibility, I know when Eric Hyman was here, I had the great fortune to be able to sit down with him and a couple other people and have some really interesting conversations with him. And what he did, and a lot of people look at the success we've had today and think, they pat Del Conte in the back, they pat Patterson, but in reality, that's all part of a plan that Eric Hyman and the board of trustees and the members of the athletic committee on the board set in action back when Hyman was the AD. When they trimmed the dead wood and got Frank Wendiger out of there and decided to actually make a commitment to athletics, they put together a plan, and that plan was to position us for movement to a better conference all along. And I'm not saying they planned to go from the WAC to the Conference USA to the Mountain West to the Big 12, but the whole idea of the thing was to position this school to move up to a better conference, and should anything happen, to keep us in the limelight and make us attractive. And the only way to do that is to continue to win, to invest in facilities, invest in coaching, and certainly done that.
Yeah, they've done that, and that was part of a plan set like you said, set with Dr. Kaler 20 years ago, and they executed it, and they deserve all the credit for it.
And the plan's not over. It's not fully executed. It's still ongoing. I mean, it's not.
And it can't stop either. It can't stop just because they've achieved where if they stop, then they're dead. And I don't think they are. I think whomever replaces, and I think I have a pretty good idea who it is, then they're going to know. They're going to know the score. But we also know this. There's going to be some things that are outside of their control that they're going to need to break right for them. And they all did over the last 20 years. And, I've told everybody who would listen, and, just what a massive Cinderella success story that TCU is from every different perspective. I mean, you think about how irrelevant the school was outside of Texas for decades. And now I can go anywhere in the United States, and if I say TCU, they know what it is. I mean, think about how much that's worth to the brand of the school and how much it's been worth to the city. Even the neighborhoods, Wes, I mean, you guys know this. Drive around the neighborhoods and look how the property value of those neighborhoods have shot through the roof. And it's fantastic. And it's been a great evolution, but it can't stop. And I think that's the scary part about change in this case, is that you had a guy in Chris who really got it and really pushed it and really did it. And now he left. And everything says they'll hire the right guy. It's a destination job, whomever he replaces it. That he's going to be a smart person. And hopefully they can just continue it. Because if there's one thing I think the one thing that's scary about today and Chris Del Conte leaving is that we all know now, even though TCU is a destination job, there's just one ring on the ladder that's a little bit higher. And it's no disrespect to anybody involved at TCU or other places involved. Because Del Conte all but said it, we're talking about one of the most iconic names in the business. And there's only about 5 of them, right? There's only about 5. And you can't blame them. But at the same time, you have to know that they are going to have to continually to work and maintain their status as a great place to live, to work, to raise a family, and a place where you can be competitive in your sport. And as long as they can do that, then they should be in good shape moving forward.
Well, the next AD, I remember, and you were probably there, Mac, for for Del Conte's introductory press conference, and I remember what he said. I'm here to bring the wing beneath the coach's wing, or the wind beneath the coach's wings. And you know, the next AD, all he's got to do is come in there and work with the baseline that Hyman and Morrison and Del Conte set for him, and just not screw it up.
Yeah, you're right. But I think that's the one element to this that's not quite getting, is that there was no bigger ally to coaches, more so than Eric, with all due respect to Eric, more so to Danny Morrison. Chris was the greatest ally to coaches and in trying to get what those guys felt like they needed to do in order to win, whether it was money, whether it was facilities, whether it was getting a guy in college and helping him along. I mean, Chris lived second, third, fourth, fifth chances. It wasn't a joke to him, and it wasn't a crutch. He really meant it. And those coaches benefited from his attitude. And now that he's gone, that's not easy. I'm not saying that plenty of good college ADs can do that, but that's one element, Wes, that when he leaves, that I certainly would say, wow, that's a big part, and I hope the new guy can do it. Guys, I hate to be rude. I hate to be rude. I got to get off the phone. Some people are texting me, and I need to get to them. But I want to say this. I can't thank you enough for having me on, and I want to thank you all, you, Wes, and certainly the late, great Scott Nix, and all the people at KillerFrogs who consume the Star-Telegram and all the news about TCU, and me as well. I'm really flattered, and I'm really grateful, and I hope you guys don't stop. And please invite me back.
Thank you so much. And I appreciate you coming on last minute like this. But listen, is your daughter going to be selling Girl Scout cookies again this year?
Oh, you know what? No, thank God, because the problem was I ate them, and then we had to buy them.
Too many Thin Mints, huh, Mike?
So what am I supposed to do now?
Find somebody else, please, because otherwise I'm going to get fat.
You got to get a local dealer down in Georgeville there, or Georgetown.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll find somebody.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Mac.
Appreciate it. All right, and that was Mac Engel of the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. We appreciate him coming on, and let's pick this back up again. Hey, Dubber, picking up a little bit about what Mac was saying. We've got a AD search that's going on here, and it looks like we've got some news tonight. That is, it looks like we may be hiring within. I'm not going to say a name if you know what that means. Hiring within, you kind of already know. As a former player, how does this affect the players that are there right now? Is losing an AD or changing an AD, is this something that the players worry about, or they're just kind of focused on, coaching staffs?
I would think that they're probably more focused on coaching staffs because, they don't, as a college kid, you don't really, you're not into the whole big picture of it all. They're more in their sport and this and that. Now, I do believe that everybody understands that, Chris was a great ally to us and what he did and stuff like that. So, surely, everybody knows he's going to be missed. But as far as one of the kids, I would think that they'd be a lot more worried if it was one of their coaches than a athletic director. And I will say this. The good thing is a lot of our construction projects are completed. Schomeyer, the football, it's
East Side. Well, he at least
but it's approved and it's going. We've got a foundation put in place. The biggest thing is for the next AD is make sure he's, able, for me, is, to continue steering the ship out there as far as our brand name and keeping us relevant out there in sports and stuff like that. Because as far as the structure of TCU, and I mean the physical structure, I think, like I said, the plan was set a long time ago, but man, we have reaped it the last several years now, and we're kind of sitting sweet as far as that, and I think that was that's a lot of Chris, but there's a lot of hard work from people from the past too. So, I'm gonna trust. This is about they every year. See, every time they've hired a new athletic director, it seems like they've done a pretty good job. They kind of know what they want.
That's exactly right. Everyone we've had was exactly the guy we needed at exactly the right time.
Yeah.
Not to pick on our prior, the athletic director was there when you had played, Dubber, but, Frank Wendiger I think his time had come, and we needed some new blood. And Eric Hyman was that. I know he was a little bit of a hard ass, but he also came here, and I know this could have this conversation with him. He was shocked that there was no policies, no procedures, nothing in writing, nothing. I mean, he just had an office and a desk, and there was nothing, no guideline or baseline for him to follow. So that's when this whole vision and plan was laid out when he was there. And he left to go to South Carolina. It didn't hurt us a bit. We got Danny Marson. He was great. He was a great bridge between Eric Hyman and Chris Del Conte. And Danny had the work ethic of Hyman and the media savvy of Hyman and the gentle nature of Del Conte. I thought he was great. I wouldn't mind if he came back, to be honest with you, but it sounds like they've already made their mind up. But then Chris Del Conte, whoever would have thought that we'd hire a guy from Rice, and this guy from Rice would be the greatest thing since sliced bread. So, you don't know where your next AD is going to come from, but I think I know who it is. And I think, obviously, with them making an announcement so quick, and it's going to be announced tomorrow at 2 o'clock.
Well, Wes, you're not in the media. Why don't you give us your prediction? This is going to air. Okay. It's going to air on Tuesday anyway, so everyone will know by then. But
okay. Well, I think my feeling is it's probably Jeremiah Donati, is one of Chris Del Conte's. Chris brought him in. I think his official title is Associate AD for External Affairs. He's a graduate of Whittier Law School. He grew up in the West Coast. He's got a lot of similarities to Chris. He knows. I think he's done a lot of fundraising, so that's not a new thing to him. I'm not sure he's ever done a project as big as the East Side expansion of Amon Carter, but he learned at the feet of the master. So I mean, as you know, Del Conte's the kind of guy who walk in the room and 5 minutes later you're getting your checkbook out because you bought into what he said so heavily that you're ready to write a check for it. And hopefully Donati's the same kind of guy. But I've met him. I don't know him very well, but he seems to be a nice enough person.
So you think we're heading into the territory, instead of talking about coaching trees, we're talking about athletic director trees at this point?
Could be. I mean, there's something to that, I guess.
Well, there is a rumor going around right now on the internet that it is Jeremiah.
Yeah.
And given the quick nature, and we were talking about this before we went live, given the quick nature of this announcement, and there will be an announcement tomorrow. Again, this podcast will air in its entirety on Tuesday. Unless you're watching us live right now, then if you did, you get a little bit of a scoop. But it's going to be an internal hire, because unless Del Conte knew way ahead of time he was going to take this job, and everybody in the administration had kind of kept it secret and had gone through and did an entire due diligence on somebody outside of TCU, I don't see how it's anybody other than Jeremiah Donati.
Yeah, I agree, and that's possible. I mean, I guess it's possible. Danny Morrison left us to become the president of the Carolina Panthers. And then, I don't know, I think maybe last summer he resigned that. And I think at the time, I may have this wrong, but I think at the time he mentioned that he wanted to get back in the collegiate life.
Well, that would be a quick way to hire somebody, especially somebody that is.
It would be a very quick way to do it, and it'd be a no-brainer. Is really, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I don't know what kind of fundraiser he is. I know he's a good strategist. I know he's got great media savvy. He's been a league commissioner and president of an NFL team. I mean, so he's certainly got the organizational skills to do it. But I don't know. I don't know about a fundraising. I mean, some of the plans for him and Carter were put in place when Danny was here, and Chris went out there and sold the vision and got all the money in. So Chris gets credit for that. But I'm sure Danny can raise money. My gosh, I mean, we're not as big a money pool as Texas, but we've got guys out there with their checkbooks in hand ready to write a check.
Yeah,
because we keep winning, and that's the important thing.
Well, Mac summed that up perfectly. I mean, nothing, even when you're talking about the Texas job, this does not work if you don't have sports that are winning. And
exactly.
if you don't have sports that are winning, then it's all a moot point at this juncture. But we have sports that are winning. I mean, we had football, basketball, and baseball at this point are what, all top 15 right now. I mean, you have the top 3 men's sports that are just kicking butt. Women's basketball is doing fantastic. The volleyball team just ended on a strong high note. We talked about the equestrian and the shooting teams. I mean, TCU from an athletic standpoint, going back to women's soccer, TCU from an athletic standpoint is set up very well for whoever's going to be the next AD.
And you know, I really believe, you know, the ship's it's kind of going in the right direction. Everybody knows it's going in the right direction. Everybody feels good about the way it's going and how it's going. So I can see them hired from within, because why rock the boat? I mean, why shake it up? Why bring somebody in that maybe doesn't have the same vision? And I think that they're comfortable with, you know, hired within if they think he can, go out and sell the stuff and get the money and the donations, and that's going to be the big thing, and keep us relevant as far as a national team and everything, like I think we are now. I can see that real easily. I can see them saying, we know what we got here. We know who's up next, and we feel good about it. And, you know, I can see that real easily.
Yeah. And what the fans have got to do is they've got to step back from the situation and feel like this was a rushed decision, because the people that are in the position to make that decision know what they're doing. You've got to trust the administrators when they've done this, because every single previous hire, these guys have hit home run after home run since the 90s, when as an institution, TCU stepped back and went, we got to do something here. And they know it works, because as Mac said, I mean, from a national standpoint, what we've done in the athletic department has risen TCU's national prominence to a height none of us, when we're in school, would ever think that TCU would get that far. I mean, Ryan and I were joking about it. Back when we were in school in the 90s, you see somebody wearing a TCU shirt, it's not a fan, a T-shirt fan. It's somebody who actually went to TCU. The conversation is like, hey, when did you graduate from TCU? It wasn't, are you a fan of TCU? Nowadays, you see somebody in TCU gear all across the nation. It's most likely not an alumni. It's somebody who has become a fan of the school through what we've done on the field.
Absolutely. I was in a store in Austin yesterday, and I saw a guy walking up wearing the parrot with a purple hat, and I said, I'm going to get up behind this guy. He turned around and it said TCU logo on it, and I just shot him the frog real quick, and he shot it back, and I said, man, I tell you what, I'm glad to meet another one here in the belly of this beast. He laughed and said, there's not many of us around here. I said, I agree, but we're a proud bunch. But yeah, you're right. I mean, whoever would have thought that when Frank Wendiger retired, whoever thought that our AD would have come from Miami of Ohio? I mean, most of us don't even know, are confused where Miami of Ohio is. Or don't, you're thinking Miami University of Florida. But, that, and then Danny Morrison, whoever would have thought that we would hire the commissioner of the Southern League, and then would anybody have ever thought we'd hire the Rice AD? I mean, seriously?
Yeah. Well, given the state of Rice athletics, I don't think anybody was thinking that was a home run hire at the time.
No. But you know what? They've done a great job of going for the right guy at the right time. And I think whoever this is, it'll be the right time and the right guy for this situation.
Hey, Wes, I got to ask you, the way you keep talking about Frank Wendiger, it sounds like you were kind of tired of Frank.
Yeah, I used to be a little tired of Frank.
Little inside joke there. Sorry, guys. So Dubber, tell us, what did you think of this move yesterday when you heard it? What was your first thoughts?
Well, it didn't totally shock me. I mean, Chris has done a great job for us. So, hey, Texas, you got to, they're smart. I mean, they decided they need to go find the best guy at the job of that job, and right now they think Del Conte's the man. And if you see what's been happening at TCU since he's gotten here, whether it's laid down there or not, he's the one that put it into action, and it actually, a lot of stuff had come through. And I just keep thinking, my gosh, they already had all the money anyway and stuff. So it'd be interesting to see how he handles that job down there. But it didn't totally shock me. I mean, it didn't shock me to know that they might have been grooming somebody from inside for a while, knowing, I would bet that nobody's totally shocked over it,
Yeah. Well, I think one of the big announcements on this, because correct me if I'm wrong here, guys, but Texas has had separate athletic directors for men and women's sports. And when this hire came down, this announcement, Chris Del Conte has taken over both men's and women's sports.
Yeah.
And that again, from Frog fans, we've got to give Chris all the congratulations and all the props he deserves for doing what he did for TCU. That just again shows it's not just one single-minded, let's get football and let's make football really good, or just the men's sports. He's done this across the board for both men's and women's sports. And so, for Texas to make that big leap, they obviously saw in Chris what we already knew. Yeah. And that's a great thing for Frog fans, because now we have big universities that used to 20 years ago were looking down their nose on us. Now they're trying to get, our AD and our coaches. That's a huge change of perspective.
Well, that's an interesting thing they do down there. I mean, they do have an AD for men's and AD for women's. And I wasn't aware of that. I went to their the Shaggy Bevo site, or Shaggy, Texas. And, I know a lot of them were saying, I thought it was funny. He said, one guy wrote, "Thank God we finally made a smart hire," and I thought, yeah, you did, guys. You just don't have any idea how smart of hire. But a lot of them, they were saying, one guy said, so he's going to be over at women's athletes. Does that mean we can get rid of, I think that women's AD is Christine Plonsky or something. I don't know, something like that. Does that mean we can finally get rid of her? And so, and of course, these guys don't know. They're talking, out of their both sides of their mouth. Oh, yeah, she's out the door. It's this first thing Chris is going to do is fire her. No, I doubt that,
Yeah.
Because he's not that kind of guy. But
no, he'll keep her around just to make sure he knows the lay of the land before he makes that decision.
But the thing he's going to do is he's going to make every sports, I believe this, he'll make them all feel special.
Yeah.
He'll make them all feel like they're getting their due diligence with him. And, maybe they haven't been getting that, but I think he could, really take the Texas and galvanize it as one that's probably hadn't been for a long time now, just sounding stuff.
We've been saying Texas needs to be relevant. This is the fastest way to get Texas to be relevant.
Yep.
It was interesting to read there. Somebody asked me on Shaggy about what kind of guy he was, and I said, I'll tell you exactly. You call him Chris. You don't call him Mr. Del Conte. He answers to Chris. He's not your Royal Highness like your other ADs have been. He's approachable. You can go up and talk to him. He'll talk back. He'll visit your tailgates. If you email him, he'll respond to you. And one guy said, "Well, God, that's a breath of fresh air." I said, "Yeah, it is. I mean, he's just a nice guy, but he's a damn good athletic director as well, And so, I mean, we're going to miss him because he did a lot for TCU, and he did exactly what they wanted him to do. But Texas hired a Jim, and more power to them.
Yep, you got to give them that. They went after the right guy, and I can't, like. Like Mac said, I mean, that's one of the cush jobs of of an athletic director. I mean, you only got about 5 or 6 of those jobs like that, and I can't blame him whatsoever for leaving and doing that.
No, I mean, it's like Chris or Mac wrote a column. I guess you read it in the Star Telegram this morning. And Chris has basically said, I didn't want to have the regret of having the opportunity to take over one of the top programs in the country and pass on it, and I'm sure, I heard the same things. I'm happy where I am. And everybody says that, and they probably mean it at the time, but that's, very few of us have ever had the opportunity to go to the very top of the totem pole. And that's what he's got. I mean, I can't blame him.
No. It's a dream job for an AD. I mean, that is, like you said, there are a handful of those in the entire country. And there are probably, 1 or 2 jobs that most ADs would be like, there's a couple of schools that for whatever reason would be in their top 2, but this is one of those jobs that when it comes calling, you give it serious consideration.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And if it looks good as a good fit for you, you take it.
Yep.
And then they offer you a whole bunch of money to make it.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, the biggest piece of news from this for me was how little we were paying him. I was surprised. I thought he was easily making over $1 million here.
You know what? I was trying to think back to what Hyman was making. At the time, it was big bucks what we're paying an AD. Nowadays, our swimming coach probably makes more. But, at the time, it was big bucks. But I kind of thought that we'd moved Del Conte up and Morrison up accordingly, and apparently we haven't. And I don't think, what they were paying him was obviously pretty darn good, but in comparison to a school like Texas or Michigan or Ohio State or Alabama, probably, pales by comparison. And, I don't know what they're going to pay the new guy. We'll see, but hopefully they've stepped up their game a little bit to make them a little more competitive. And along salaries, I also know that some of our assistant ADs were pitifully paid. And guys like Jack Hasselbrock, I'd take that out. But some of the assistant ADs were not paid as well. And I know that I think it was Morrison that went in there and got them a much more competitive salary. And so I think our pay scale is better, but I'm like you, Sean. I was kind of surprised to hear what we were paying Del Conte. And, he didn't seem to complain about it, but when somebody wanted to almost double his salary, he jumped at that too. So
yeah, how many people out there would say no to that?
Well, no, nobody would.
Double your salary and you get a dream job. Yeah, I'm there.
I know somebody on the forum yesterday was complaining about it. So you turned down an incredible opportunity out of loyalty. Come on. You do this for yourself. You do it for your family. You do it for your career.
Well, and I'm sure that's one of the decisions that Chris had to, or one of the hurdles he had to cross, because his family loves it here as well. So, and you're going to have to go from purple to burnt orange. That's definitely a decision you sleep on. That's not something you just make in a blink of an eye.
Well, the other thing, people, we go to, I say that I got a couple of friends have had several jobs, but we go to jobs and we go get jobs and we go to work, but the college athletic scene, people move. They move all the time. Whether it's athletic director, whether it's head coaches, whether it's assistant coaches, whether it's whatever, I think we're spoiled in the sense that, Patterson's been here so long, it's silly. In some ways it is because of how the longevity that he's been, that we've had him. When you really, what really is the norm is you need to look around at what's happening with other places, with the turnover of coaches and this and that, and, and whatever. But we've been kind of spoiled, really. As far as some of that.
Yeah, we have.
And even Schlossnagel, same thing. Hopefully we get Jamie Dixon here and he wants to stay and doesn't want to leave here for a good long time either. And then but that's the thing about being here right now is we've been lucky with that. We've been, and you got to give Chris a lot of credit for bringing in the right people at the right time. But the nature of the beast of college sports, you're gonna move. You're not staying still for very long.
It's not. Yeah, TCU's been an aberration, especially in football and baseball. And so, and I agree with Mac. Like we said earlier, it would be foolish of any Frog fan to think that Del Conte, out of some sort of sense of loyalty, wouldn't try to poach, Schlossnagel or Patterson for sure. Dixon gets rolling, I'm sure he would certainly be calling Dixon as well. So, those are the things that other colleges, like you said, Dubber, it happens all the time. When you get big, you tend to lose your coaches, even if it's a great school. I don't think, there are probably a handful of coaches. Obviously, Snyder's one of them, who's probably going to be in that job till they either carry him out in a box or he just decides to retire altogether. But Patterson, he may or may not be that guy. We all think, yeah, he's getting up there in age, and he may just want to be a Horned Frog for life. And Kelsey loves Fort Worth, and yeah, all that's true. But if Texas comes calling and Tom Herman is out the door in 2 years, and we haven't shored up, I hate to do attendance talk, but if we haven't shored up some certain things that the fans need to do, and we haven't been able to get into the playoffs, and we haven't been able to crack into the finals or even get a national title out of this, I wouldn't fault Patterson for trying to take that job either.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, I don't think we'll have to face that for a couple of years. So
yeah, I'm not worried about that until it gets here. I think that Herman's going to be a pretty good coach for him. I could be wrong, but and then even if he's not, I get they're going to give him another 2 years at least.
Oh yeah, two to 4 years at this.
2 to 4 years, 2 to 4 years. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and he's turning things around already down there, and it'll in another year he'll probably have them up to 8 or 9 wins, and who knows? He starts getting into a 10-win territory, he's going to be there for several years more. So
yeah,
and at that point in time, maybe the age argument holds a little bit more water when it comes to Patterson, but we'll see. But I wouldn't be surprised if something were to happen down in Austin and CDC has the number one person on speed dial is Gary Patterson.
Yeah, but you know what? If you remember what Gary said in an article a couple of weeks ago, he likes being in a program where he can meet the donors and speak to them and be friends with them, but also let them know that they don't have a stake in his program. Mm-hmm. That probably wouldn't be the case at UT.
Well, but unless CDC's there as a firewall.
Well, and that could be a game changer, but
let me tell you,
those UT people,
it's going to have to be a big firewall, because I'm going to tell you, I agree with Wes there. I don't care how big you are. They're going to think that they're involved, and they should be involved, and they're a part of it, and that you're going to listen and and whatever else. I mean, you got some guys there that now, I'm not saying he can't smooth them over. I'm not saying he can't keep them rah-rah, but that doesn't mean he's not going to be able to keep them from explaining the way they feel or what their opinion is.
I mean, he can hold them off for a little while.
But the arrogance of Texas is probably one thing that actually works towards us in that particular regard.
Yep, you're probably right.
All right, well, guys, you have anything else to say on this particular topic?
Well, we had some big recruits in. Since Hunter's not here, I guess if you don't mind, I can fill in a little bit of I'm not the recruiting expert, but
get all over it.
Go ahead.
We had some big recruits in this weekend. I think there were 7 of them, and they're guys we want. There's the biggest news, I guess, it shocked a few people, was that I think 3-star or 4-star running back Tazon Henry decommitted, which may be a shock to some. Some others say they saw it coming, but I think with Justin Fields in Tanza Vongor, Ben Wilson, the linebacker from up in the Seattle area.
Now these aren't decommits; these are the people that have visited, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I think I've heard there was a surprise running back. There's I don't have any confirmation that he showed up, but there's a running back from Mississippi, I think, who's on everybody's radar, and I think we were able to pull off a visit with him and get him in there. So, hopefully we'll close out recruiting this year with a bang. I checked the other day, and I think we were ranked at number 18th team in the country as far as recruiting goes so far, which is not bad. It'd be the highest finish we've had in a long time, if not ever. So, I think we're all positioned for a pretty good finish to the recruiting era here.
And what this new signing date is it's going to get here quick.
Yeah. Well, 2 weeks. Yep. Less than 2 weeks.
Yeah. No, that's a good thing. I mean, I'd like to close these things out quicker, because that makes the recruits almost feel like you got to jump on something pretty quick, because there may not be a scholarship for you at the the old school recruiting date or signing date, because schools are only going to be able to hold back a couple or a handful at most. Yeah. And that's you may not be one of the ones they're holding it back for.
That's one of the reasons you've seen some of these schools cut their coaches loose in October to get them a chance to find a new guy, and have them a fighting chance of getting some recruits out there before the December 20th signing date.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be one of the biggest things is how fast it's going to be interesting to see how fast institutions let go of their coaches. I mean, they decide, because if you don't let go of them quick, you'd be sitting there holding the bag, and all of a sudden, you get a new guy in, all of a sudden you're losing all these recruits because you brought your guy in too late.
Yeah.
Or you brought him in and you just brought a guy in that pretty much you got to write off that year recruiting, because he might tell you, hey, they weren't my guys. I didn't want half of them, but I had to take them because, it's going to be interesting. I mean, that's a really interesting deal.
Well, and that's kind of the gamble now. Do you fire the coach before the early signing date, or do you keep him on? If you've got a bowl game, let him coach the bowl and then get rid of him after that.
I think the more and more, I think the people that know that they want jobs. I mean, they need a coach now. They're going to fire them and they're going to go after them guys. I think you're going to see less of them coaching the bowl games and stuff.
Yeah. Well, interesting about coaches, Chad Morris got hired the head coach of Arkansas, but now SMU is. I just read on Football Scoop that they've got a couple of people under serious consideration. One of them is Sonny Dykes, who's our, was used to his dad Spike Dykes, and Sonny was the coach at Louisiana Tech and also moved out to Cal and was our offensive analyst here this past year. So, I'm sure he'd want to be a head coach again because the analyst job don't pay anything.
Yeah.
But also Todd Graham, the fired Arizona State head coach, is under consideration from SMU. So that could be interesting development too. Still sitting out there is Les Miles, who nobody seems to want to talk to.
That's
Kevin Sumlin, who I think, I'm not sure what Sumlin would ever coach again. He's going to get $10 million in about 5 weeks, and it's unencumbered. He can coach anywhere he wants. There's no restrictions on it whatsoever. How Aggie is that? So, and if you kept with the coaching here, I got to mention this. This past week, Arizona State hired Herm Edwards to be their head coach, which is just the most confusing hire I've ever seen in my life. This guy's only coached college 2 years at San Diego State or San Jose State. He's been a pro coach most of his career. He hasn't coached at all in 10 years. And, and all of a sudden he's a head coach at Arizona State only because his buddy and former agent is the athletic director there. And this guy rolled the dice big time. If it doesn't pay off, there could be 2 jobs in the line there.
Yeah. That's crazy. I thought that was a crazy hire too. I just figured, I didn't realize it was his buddy that hired him. I just figured that some of these people get so desperate they just want a big name.
Yeah, these people are just so infatuated with hiring an NFL guy. I mean, the Arizona State AD was an NFL executive. He was vice president of operations or something like that. Okay, that's great. He was also a sports agent. And now he's an athletic director. And to show you how out of touch Herm Edwards has been, I saw a video and I thought this was funny. You know how jerseys fit today, Dever. They're tight.
Yeah.
I mean they're tight for a reason because you can't grab onto them for a reason. And they're tight. And so they brought him this, and it's on a video. I think it's out there in Football School if you want to watch it. But I guess the equipment guy brought an Arizona State jersey to Herm Edwards and showed it to him, and he goes, "Is that a girl's jersey or kids?" And he goes, "No, that's our playing jersey. That's our game jersey. It's so small." He said, "Well, it's supposed to be small. It's tight, so they can't grab it." It was beyond him. Yeah, he'd never seen anything like that. Yeah. And I'm thinking, oh boy, this. And another thing. He is, they changed their whole structure of the athletic department to more like a CEO type structure. And it's said now that Herm Edwards is not going to be involved as much in X's and O's. And I'm thinking, okay, so what is he going to do? I mean, you've just hired a guy, you're paying him a couple million a year. What's he going to do to earn it? I mean, it's bizarre what they've done. So it'll be interesting to watch and see how that that whole
Yeah.
thing plays out. But I'm not holding my breath.
I'm glad we're not in the pack.
Oh my gosh.
Like a train wreck to me.
Yeah. Yeah. That pack, ACC, or most of the ACC, I should say. And it looks like the SEC is falling right behind them. So it's, yeah, the conference realignment that is coming. Mac mentioned that, and it will come at some point in time. It is going to be interesting to see how the chairs on the deck of the Titanic are going to be rearranged yet again.
Yeah, will the Bucks be there though? Because the Bucks came from ESPN, and as we all know, ESPN is laying off people left and right and losing money.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see. I think this.
Well, and they just made a deal. Disney just made a deal, which is also parent of ABC and ESPN, to buy Fox Sports regionals.
Oh yeah.
So all those are now going to be under control of ESPN. So other than FS1, all the Fox Sports regional, Fox Sports Southwest, for those of us here in Texas, that's all going to be under control of ESPN.
Wow, it's going to be interesting.
So I don't know what they're going to rebrand it as, but I mean, who knows? I mean, I'm a Ranger fan. All my games I get to see on Fox Sports Southwest. Who knows how that's going to affect, Major League Baseball? And obviously from TCU's perspective, a lot of our games are on Fox Sports Southwest. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what ESPN does with that property. And they are losing money. They are losing subscribers. And this cutting the cord trend that's happening across the nation is just getting worse for these content providers. So there's a big shift coming. And I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there are. I guess you can stream some of the games on, can't you? On if you're not a cable or a satellite viewer, are some of the games available on live stream?
Oh yeah, that's the X factor to everything is this streaming stuff's becoming pretty crazy, especially the younger you are. I mean, I'm doing a lot of streaming now only because my son has set me up to do streaming. And, I understand why he does it. I mean, it's good quality and this and that. And I don't have it. I've seen I don't have DirecTV or anything like that. I went straight to streaming. He kind of set me up. It's been great for me ever since I've done it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I was a DirecTV customer since 2001, 2002.
Yep.
And last summer, we just cut the cord, and now we're using the PlayStation View network. Not an ad for them, but even with that subscription, I can get onto ESPN and go watch ESPN. I can get that on the app. I can do Fox Sports Go. So I'm not unencumbered at all when it comes to what I want to watch and when I want to watch it when it comes to sports.
Hey, I'm getting more than what I ever had the other time. We're paying a lot less. I mean, that's where it's going, and that's what they can't figure out. They can't figure out how to stop that flow.
We would have been when we moved down here. We went ahead and got DirecTV because it always had AT&T Uverse. But right now, I could probably drop DirecTV in next year sometime because we're probably a 75-25 streaming versus satellite right now, and we stream more than anything else. We use Roku and of course we bring in Amazon Prime and all those. So we've got some content, and there's a never-ending supply of it.
Yep.
So
choices for sports fans. It's just continuing to ratchet up, and now that you've got cellular companies like AT&T and T-Mobile are starting to get into this, where they're offering streaming services as part of their packages when you buy a cell phone plan. It's just going to continue. It's just going to exacerbate the whole issue. So, it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen when that conference realignment comes around, when everybody's TV rights comes up. I mean, I don't see the Longhorn Network long for this world. I don't see the Big Ten Network doing as well when they renegotiate that contract. And I honestly think what's going to end up happening is that they're going to have to either the conferences are going to have to get together and figure out a better way of doing this from a regional standpoint, or we're just going to have mass hysteria where you're going to have these bigger conferences gobbling up everybody else, and we're going to have these mega conferences across the country.
That may be what happens. I just don't know. All I want to be is part of the final mega group.
Yeah.
Amen. Yeah, and that's where this decision, Frog fans should not be worried about losing Chris Del Conte. Yes, it's a big loss now, but you shouldn't be worried about the replacement because the guys in charge of picking the replacement know all this. Yeah. This is nothing new to them. You're not going to go to them and say, but what about they understand all this. And they have an eye towards this because, as Wes said, this was a plan that was put in place before Del Conte was even here. And they're following that plan, and they've seen it grow. They've seen it, bear fruit, and they know this is the right way to go. So they're not going to make a hire that's going to take them a step back. They're looking to constantly push the ball forward. And I think whoever they're going to announce as AD tomorrow, I think is part of that plan to push that ball forward. And
this plan is ever changing. It's not written in stone. I mean, the basics of it, or the 10 commandments of it, if you will, certainly are. But it's, they realize that things change and situations change, and they can change the plan and change out elements. But the basics of it, upgrade Raymond Carter Stadium, build a new baseball facility, build the indoor, eventually get around to the Schollmeyer. That's all part of the plan. That's been done, So and the flexible part of it is adding the upper deck to the east side, which they thought about in advance because they added supports there, so they could easily slap up a second deck on the east side of the stadium. But like Del Conte told us at the KillerFrogs luncheon, one thing he didn't think about is putting supports under the new scoreboard because that's going to be heavy, and nobody thought in advance to put supports under it because
they actually had the money for the new scoreboard, and when they realized what the structural requirements were, they went, "Oh wait, time out. We're gonna have to. We're gonna rethink this now."
They went state of the art when they put the scoreboard in, and then right about the same time, Texas comes out with that super board of theirs, that monster, and now everybody's got to have a big board. So they just didn't even think about that. And but they'll address it and get it done.
Yeah, they will. All right. Well, any other recruiting news or talk about the AD guys?
No, I'll be just it was kind of funny to read some of the comments some of the people in KillerFrogs were making about who our replacement should be. I mean, certainly Jeremiah Donati's name came up quite a bit. James Cash, who's probably well into his 70s now, and never run an athletic department. He's been a dean of a business school at Harvard. That's great, but that's not an athletic. But Wendy Davis, state representative, former gubernatorial candidate, just some crazy things.
Did you see
nobody follows ADs and nobody knows who to bring in.
Did you see the tweet from Brett McMurphy today?
No,
so he basically he said this. He said, with Chris Del Conte headed to Texas, TCU would be insane not to hire Jeff Long as the Horned Frogs AD.
Oh, good grief.
And the amount of replies from everybody, even Boykin got on it. It was like, oh, hell no. I mean, it was funny.
That's what we want, is one of Arkansas's castaways, or a guy you want fired. Now, one I thought was intriguing was Oliver Luck, who is West Virginia's. That's Andrew Luck's dad, and was the AD at the West Virginia. Now he's working for the NCAA. He's actually a guy I thought Texas was going to try and hire a few years ago, but they didn't.
But did you see what the guys were posting when that name came up?
No.
They said, well, maybe we ought to go into the bowl game and lose on purpose so we can suck for luck.
Oh, good God.
Oh, gosh.
Going back to you Indianapolis fans know what that means.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it.
It's I tell you what, everybody was like ready to jump off a ledge Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon. By the time Saturday night rolled around last night and then this morning, everyone's now seemed to be taking it well, and we're all joking about various things at this point. And we'll be fine. It's not going to be an issue. We'll be okay. The plan's already in place. Del Conte did a fantastic job. He said props to him. Give the guy a hand, because he did something a lot of TCU fans didn't think were going to be possible, getting us not into one Power 5 conference, but two. And he deserves a lot of the credit. But the guy that we're going to bring in is going to be the guy that we need at this particular time. And I trust the administrators to be able to do that, because they've shown time and time again that they can do that. So
they're not going to bring in a schmuck.
Nope. And as we've been saying time and time again on this podcast, the sun will rise again tomorrow. It'll be fine.
Yep.
Absolutely.
All right. Deborah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I figure they know a lot more about athletic directors than I do.
There you go.
Than most all of us. I mean, it's amazing to me, all the opinions you hear about it, but really, when you just get right down to it, I think I stay pretty well into sports, especially TCU sports. especially the football side, which would pull the athletic director in there to a point. I just want them to hire me a good one. That's where I'm at with it. I mean, I figure they know so much more than me, and they know, well, they know 99% of the fans out there. I love all of you, but you're in the same boat as I am.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it's the truth.
Yeah. I mean, they do know exactly what they need, and they know who to go after, and they know the people in that particular pool to hire from. So I trust them to make the right decision, because so far they have done a good job of putting their hand on the wheel, so to speak, going back to that old boat analogy we were doing.
They've continued to position us for the future.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, hey, speaking of the future, do either of you guys tweet Del Conte and ask for his clothes?
I quit. I said, Chris, if you're not going to use those TCU boots anymore,
yeah, you've been looking for a sweet pair of boots. I'm sure he's got a couple.
12. I'd sure love to have them. So.
Well, anybody who saw that Fort Worth magazine spread and all the clothes that he's got, he's going to have to do a color change pretty quick, and I wonder what he's going to do with all those clothes.
Well, all I know is I only could use his boots. That might be the only thing that came close to fit me for Del Conte. Me and him have a little difference in the structure of body size.
Oh, now come on, side by side, you can hardly tell the difference.
Exactly. Well, if he's side by side, if you're standing on one side, you won't see him.
You know what? I'm going to miss the guy. He was a great guy, and just UT fans just don't know how lucky they are, because they've got one of the rare people. You know, he's not going to walk around with an attitude on his – not at all. He has no ego, no attitude, and he's just he's a gem. There's one of a lifetime.
Yep.
We're lucky to have him.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree with that.
Well, we wish him all the luck, but, you know, Go Frogs beat UT.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, like we said, there's not going to be any loyalty there from him, so – wish him all the best, but hope we kick your teeth in every single year.
Yep.
And with that, we have come to the end of the podcast, which means, and if you guys don't mind, we'll do player or coach of the week. Do you guys have anybody in mind for player or coach of the week? I kind of sprung this on everybody. We didn't talk about this ahead of time. Wes, do you have somebody that you could nominate for player or coach of the week this week?
Oh, player that he caught me with my pants down. Not literally, but
that's not quite the visual I was hoping for, our listeners.
Yeah, I know. You know what? Let's go with Jamie Dixon. We're what, 10-0 now?
Yeah.
Now we're more than 10-0, aren't we?
Are we 11-0?
Are we 11 now?
I don't know.
It's the longest win streak in the nation right now.
We're undefeated. Let's go with Jamie Dixon.
Yeah, they won. They won again against Wyoming the other night. And so
no, Nevada.
I mean Nevada. That's right, Nevada, and
2 ranked teams.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, you know, I would go with my mind's totally going blank. The point guard for the boys.
Jalen Fisher.
Yeah. That's my boy right there. I'm picking him. He
had a monster game, didn't he?
He sure did. He had a monster game. So he's my pick.
Okay, that's a good one.
It's a good pick. I'm going to go track and field with Isaiah Rogers. He just set a new school record in the weight throw, the shot put. He threw for 63 feet, 3.5 inches. And the previous mark was, I think, somewhere around 62 feet. Yeah, 62 feet and 1 inches. And the weird thing about it is that we also had another Horned Frog, Justin Sanchez, who also beat the record, making it 62 feet and 4 inches. So he actually beat the record, but Isaiah Rogers beat him by a good foot. So that was we actually started off pretty good with track and field. So that's a good thing. Again,
yeah. I looked at a picture of Rogers today, and it looks like he's Dubber. I tell you what, you ought to stand next to him, because you know.
Well, you know,
he's a big guy.
You know what I like?
He's a small guy.
I like when Sean starts doing that. I knew he'd come up with somebody really good. It's kind of like he did his research, you know, and he's like, all right, guys, you know, me and Wes sitting there going, what? Player of the week this week? Okay, yeah, we'll try. Sean had us set up. Hey, you can see the grin on his face. But hey, you got to give him kudos for doing his homework.
Hey, that's right. He did. We didn't.
Yeah.
Well, we've got so many great athletes at TCU. I mean,
yeah,
that's right. Oh, you're so gracious.
Yes. Well, Dixon's a great pick too. So I mean,
yeah.
the whole basketball program deserves accolade after accolade. I mean, what Dixon has done in such a short period of time. I mean, my goodness. And people are talking this might be the best TCU basketball team ever. I've heard that from a couple of fans, and I'd say tap the brakes a little bit, but it's possible.
One of the most complete teams. I mean, I think back to the Billy Tubbs year, but we went 27-6. And that was a great team.
Yeah, it was.
Different type of team.
I mean, it was and all those guys. Yeah, it
was all run and gun, full court press. They really wasn't. I mean, Dixon is more defensive minded than Tubbs ever was, but still, that was fun to watch. I mean, those guys are run up and down that court, and then it was not considered a victory until you scored over 100 points. And as a fan, that was a blast to watch.
Yeah, it kind of came back and bit us in the first round. What was it against
Florida State?
Yeah, the Florida State game, and they played defense. I was like,
yeah, they did.
What?
Yeah,
what is this? What is this defense you guys are talking about?
That great year, he never seemed to be able to capitalize on recruiting wise off of that great year.
Yeah,
and Tubbs would bring in some JUCOs, and as we all know the story. Lee Nayland was one of them, and I was there when he slapped that UNLV player and got ejected, and of course,
I was there too.
Yeah, when he hit his girlfriend.
I wasn't there for that.
I wasn't either, but still, he went off and played the pros and did fairly well.
Yep.
But those are some great Tubbs teams. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. But I think that Jamie, before it's all said and done, is going to he's going to probably have the best basketball teams around here. That's going to be my prediction, because I think he's already showed that he's already taken other talent that really wasn't all his and molded it. Yeah. But as he gets more and more, he's got a plan. You can tell he's got a plan.
Oh God!
And it's not about. I mean, it is about today, but I just can't wait until just continue on down the road with him, because I think he's going to build us. I think we're going to be a powerhouse in basketball, just like we are in football, and just like we are in baseball eventually.
Yeah, and to do that both in baseball and in basketball, which are probably the two top RPI conferences in the nation, that says something. I mean, Bosnagel deserves everything he gets, because he has done a fantastic job with the baseball team. But to see Dixon to have this quick of a turnaround, like you said, Dubber, with guys that aren't fully his, just kind of shows the kind of coach that Jamie Dixon is.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is, and talk about the Big 12. This is the one salty basketball conference.
Yeah. I was looking at the win-loss of the whole group the other day. And I mean, of all the Big 12 teams, and crud, I was like, yeah, we're up the top, but I think only one other team had more than 3 losses. I mean, it was 2 losses, 1 loss. I mean, nobody's just terrible.
Yeah.
Everybody looked good.
This is a great conference. It's a great conference for football, baseball, basketball, and I'm glad we're in it. Yep. And that just goes back to, once again, Chris Del Conte. But you know what, guys? We ran a little long today, but appreciate you guys jumping on with us tonight. And that brings us to the end of the podcast, which means it's time for us to go, but you can go ahead and find us on social media. We are on Twitter and Instagram at @killer_frogs. That's at @killer_frogs. You can also find us on Facebook. It's facebook.com/KillerFrogs. There's no underscore there. Or you can go online to killerfrogs.com and join us on the forum. It's a free membership. And you can discuss TCU athletics with one of the largest online communities of TCU fans. And with that,
largest online
community. Thank you for the correction, Wes. The largest online community for TCU fans. And with that, we are done for the day, which means it's time for all of us to say,
Go Frogs!
Wes, did you notice you left the label on your hat?
Yeah, I'm trying to be cool.
Hey, that's the new generation right there.
Hey, just Dubber, this is the old baseball cap they used to wear when I was at school.
Yep.
It's that wool one. And this is not an embroidery here. This is actually, they've cut it out and felt and stitched it on there. I mean, it's an old school type hat. It's great.
Yeah, the MSRP is not so great unless you get a coupon, right? $50 for a hat.
Coupon code right now, but it's but they've got a great looking baseball jersey. But I'll be damned if I don't pay $200 for it. Now they can forget that.